Something happened this morning that needs to be understood very carefully, not because it is complicated, but because it is actually very simple once you see the full picture. The reason most people are missing it is because the coverage keeps separating three things that are not separate. They are part of the same system, so let's connect them clearly. First, Iran's military leadership issued a statement saying that security in the Persian Gulf and the Sea of Oman is either for everyone or for no one. They then made it even more explicit by adding that no port in the region will be safe. This includes not just Iranian ports or the Strait of Hormuz, but every major port including Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Doha, Kuwait City, and Ras Tanura. That statement is not just a military threat, it is a signal. Second, as of now, the United States has not formally responded to this threat. There has been no direct counterstatement, no clear warning, and no specific military response. The blockade is still in place, and the ceasefire is technically still active. This means Iran has expanded the scope of the conflict from a single choke point to the entire Gulf and possibly the Red Sea. Washington has remained publicly silent, and that silence creates uncertainty. Third, the reason Iran feels confident enough to make such a broad threat is connected to China. Iran has faced weeks of war, major strikes, leadership losses, and infrastructure damage. Yet it is still escalating. This is not simply because of its own strength, but because of China. China is not openly fighting alongside Iran. Instead, China has built a system over years that allows Iran to survive this kind of pressure. Understanding that system is key to understanding the current situation. When Iran says no port will be safe, it is not primarily talking to the United States. The United States already understands Iran's military capabilities. Iran is instead sending a message to Gulf countries like Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, and Kuwait. The message is that if the blockade continues, their ports, oil shipments, and economies will become targets. These countries are not direct participants in the war and have tried to stay out of it. That is why the message affects them differently. Reports indicate that Gulf states are already pressuring Washington to de-escalate. This shows that Iran's strategy is working. The credibility of Iran's threat comes from asymmetric capability rather than conventional military dominance. Iran does not need large fleets to disrupt shipping. It can use fast boats, drones, and missiles. These capabilities are still available in significant numbers. There's also the possibility of coordinated actions through groups like the Houthis in Yemen. The Houthis have previously disrupted Red Sea shipping. This creates the risk of two simultaneous choke points being affected. These choke points are the Persian Gulf and the Red Sea. Together, they handle a large portion of global trade. This turns a regional conflict into a global economic threat. America's silence is not confusion or weakness. It is a calculated position. The United States is managing multiple pressures at once. These include maintaining the blockade and navigating a fragile ceasefire. It is also engaging in indirect negotiations through intermediaries. It is preparing for possible talks. It is also monitoring the roles of China and Russia. Issuing a direct counter-threat could escalate the situation further. The United States is trying to preserve space for diplomacy. However, silence also creates doubt among allies. Allies may question whether the United States will protect their interests. That uncertainty is exactly what Iran is trying to create. Iran's strategy is not only military, but also diplomatic. It aims to drive a wedge between the United States and its regional partners. This forces those partners to consider acting independently. China plays a central role in this situation. Despite sanctions and conflict, Iran's oil exports have not collapsed. They have remained relatively stable. This is because of the system China has built. China buys oil outside the dollar system. It uses alternative banking channels. It deploys dark fleet tankers that avoid tracking. It has created storage and refining networks. This allows sanctioned oil to continue flowing. This system was built over many years. It was designed to withstand situations like this. Iran still has a steady revenue stream. It is not economically cornered. Iran's confidence is based on economic resilience. As long as China continues buying oil, Iran can sustain escalation. This creates what can be described as a confidence ladder. Each time Iran tests a boundary without severe consequences, its confidence grows. Iran has moved from managing shipping restrictions to threatening the entire region. Each step reinforces the next. External support reduces the cost of escalation. This raises a critical question about China. What is the strategy toward China? Most actions currently focus directly on Iran. These include sanctions, blockades, and negotiations. However, China is a key part of the system sustaining Iran. Ignoring China limits the effectiveness of the strategy. This makes it a partial approach. The next few days will be crucial. The ceasefire timeline is approaching. One possibility is that the United States responds directly and escalates. Another is that it continues with silence and diplomacy. A third is that it addresses China's role directly. Each path has different consequences. Iran's statement this morning was not random. It was a calculated move. Iran has built confidence over weeks by observing responses. The real story is not just the threat itself. The real story is the system behind it. Systems do not announce themselves. They operate quietly over time. What we are seeing now is the result of that system. It has been developing for years. That system allows Iran to act with confidence. Understanding that system is essential to understanding what comes next.